All right, Ross, thanks for joining us. You've just been announced as new head coach of Leyton Orient Football Club. That must be a really proud moment for you.
Incredibly. Very difficult to a degree to describe the emotion of it all. There's obviously been a lot of things go on this season that have found me in different circumstances, found the club in a different and sometimes difficult situations. But for it to now be made a permanent decision is something that I am immensely proud of. I think I've gone on record of saying it before. Not particularly something that I ever thought was going to happen to me for a number of different reasons. I suppose I never sort of had it as a realistic target of mine. Had it, I suppose it would have been a hidden ambition, but not necessarily one that I felt would ever really come off. So to be sitting here, or to have been sat here previously as interim manager on a number of occasions, was always a proud moment for me. But to know that this football club wants me as its manager, and to finally get it agreed and finalised is something that I'm incredibly proud of.
And I guess the obvious question to ask is, considering we sat down and had this conversation in October, and you felt at that time that you weren't the right man to lead Orient forward, I guess what's changed, and why do you feel now's the right time for you to take the lead?
I think a lot has changed. I think certainly when we came to that crossroad period before, when I made the decision that I didn't want to take the manager's job on at that period, I felt that I didn't feel as though I was in a position to be ready. And I know some people will probably sit there and say, well, why in such a short period of time has that changed? I think first and foremost it's doing that job. It's being in a position. I'm sure everybody listening to this interview now has been in a position before where they've stepped into something new, and when you do things new, and when you do find yourself under a new pressure, it's uncomfortable and it doesn't feel great. So when the opportunity arose previously, it wasn't something I felt that I was ready to do. But I think the fact that I've been in it for the extended period of time that I have done now, the fact that it's been done in a period where it hasn't all been rosy in terms of, one, not winning every week, and then two, the way that the circumstances have found us this year with the loss of Justin and the way that this season has panned out for us, I think has helped me to a degree review the fact that even when it's not particularly all going swimmingly, I still feel capable of dealing with the pressure and being capable of doing the job to the best of my ability, and to feel as though I can now be more of a success than perhaps I felt I had in and around and about me when the conversation was had last.
And I spoke to Martin Ling earlier about you stepping up and taking the role, and one of the things that he mentioned as a real positive of your second spell as interim head coach in particular was that the authority of Ross Embleton seemed to come out more. You're more able to put your stamp on things than you probably felt comfortable with in the first interim spell. I suppose, would you see that as a fair assessment?
Yeah, I would do. I think tough moments and tough decisions in terms of what I just said, to a degree, going through tough times, but I think making difficult decisions in any walk of life, I keep saying that, but it's not all just about football that means that you feel as though you can do well in this particular job. It's about managing people and how you deal with that. And I think some people will sit there and I've had the accusation thrown at me before, he's not nasty enough to be a manager, he's not got that edge. But I think making tough decisions is about having an edge. It's about showing that you've got strength of character and belief in yourself, in what you're going to do. Is it always going to come off? Definitely not. But I think if you can show that belief in your decisions and be strong when you make those decisions and be comfortable to explain those to people, then I think certainly what it's done for me is started to fill me with that little bit of confidence. And then what I can do is stamp my authority on the group. I can show people that I'm capable of making tough decisions, and whether that's changing the formation, making a substitute, or bringing a player in or out of the team, I feel as though I've started to show that I'm capable of doing that. And I think what that's done for me is it's given me that reassurance that perhaps I am a little bit more capable than I gave myself credit for in the past.
And as a Leyton Orient fan yourself, I mean, this must be particularly proud.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, a bit surreal, still a little bit strange, but yeah, spending all the years I have done first and foremost at this club, it's an amazing feeling to now know that I'm sitting in the position that I am. But when I think back across the years of having a season ticket and following the club home and away and going to games every week, sitting in the stand with, first and foremost, my dad and my grandparents and things like that, and my brothers, and it's something that amazing really to think that growing up supporting the club and following the club that I would end up as the manager one day. But I know that for myself and now my family, in terms of my wife and my children, this is our club. We feel as though it's an incredible place that my children feel as though they belong, and my wife loves to come along to, and it's such a family club that it's evolved even more from just being the club that I supported and I followed as a kid. My whole family is indulged in it now.
And this was a deal that was, I suppose, agreed in principle, a number of weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, and it's taken obviously a backseat over the Christmas period while we got through a heavy run of fixtures. But you must be really pleased with the faith that the board have shown in you. Yeah,
I think that on a number of levels, really. The fact that we had the discussion. I forget what days of the week it is at the moment because of the Christmas period, but two and a bit weeks ago. But I felt, and I think the board, the same as me, felt that announcing it amongst the Christmas period would probably been a little bit naive of us. Let's get through that tough period, because first and foremost, it's not about me, it's not about the board, it's about the football club and the team. And although we haven't picked up the results exactly that we wanted over the Christmas period, we didn't want anything that was going to unsettle the group and settle the club at all. So it was important that we maintained our focus and our concentration on what was supposed to be at hand, and kept that tried to keep that momentum going. But I think, again, on the back end of your question there, that was the main thing for me in terms of where I was going and where we were going to go next, is the backing of the board and the people on the board, knowing that they wanted me, knowing that they had belief in what I'm about and how I've gone about the job in the periods as interim manager, and what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to implement. That was really reassuring. I have a fantastic relationship with Martin Ling, and he gives me an incredible amount of support. But sometimes knowing that knowing his opinion and knowing that he wants me to do something is great, but at the same time to have that even more stronger backing from the board is something that gives me incredible reassurance, and obviously that's something that I'm hugely grateful for.
And looking back over the last 3 to 4 weeks with you in the interim hot seat, I suppose it's been a stable stabilisation of the club's form, if you will. It's not been scintillating, but it's been an improvement in terms of performances and results. I guess, what would you say have been that you yourself have done well over the last few weeks, and I guess where are the improvements for the club going forward? I
think, first of all, just the word stabilisation that you used there, I think that's something that can easily be forgotten about how our season was going to look. We have to remember the changes, the upheaval, the experience that everybody at this club has gone through and that has happened to, first and foremost, obviously getting promotion last year. We were always going to step up a level, whoever was in charge, whoever was ever sitting at the helm. Then to experience the loss of our manager over the summer, I think sometimes can be underestimated, the impact that it had on the group. So coming into this season, stabilisation was always the word at the forefront of us. We all had ambition. We all would have loved to hit the ground running and won every game and be sitting at the top of the league. Was that ever going to be a realistic expectation? Probably not. So I think that stabilisation word is really key. There's obviously then been within the season a lot of changes, signing of new players, the loss of some good players and good characters that we had with us last season. So it was always going to be a period of change. Obviously the season didn't start fantastically. I think it started okay, and then we had another change in terms of change of manager and that sort of thing again. So I think then again it's about reassessing where we're at, reassessing what we're about, and making sure that we can become stable and consistent again. Now, in recent times, our target has been to try to stop giving ourselves a mountain to climb. I think that's a mountain hurdles is something I always mention very often in my post-match interviews, is that there's been too many occasions where we give ourselves too much to do in games. So my target and our target in recent weeks has been to try to make us a little bit tougher, a little bit harder to play against and harder to beat. Now what that sometimes does is it has a counter effect in terms of the amount of chances that you create, and what you do at the other end of the pitch. So now the next phase of our progress, next phase of our development is to now start to implement what I think we were doing earlier in the season, and that was being a little bit more exciting, a little bit more positive, a little bit more creative, and creating more chances and goal scoring opportunities. If you get the two right, then it goes wonderfully well, and that's obviously now my job and my main focus is to try to merge those two things together and start to put more glossy, more entertaining performances on in order to get us building and winning more games of football.
And looking forward, you've now got an opportunity with the January transfer window in particular to try and put your stamp in on the squad and I suppose the club as a whole. That started off with the signing of Lawrence Figueroa on a free transfer. Someone you know particularly well yourself.
Yeah, been involved with Lawrence's development since he was sort of 17 really. So I've seen him grow and seen him develop and seen him go to play for two of the biggest clubs this country's proud to have in Tottenham and Liverpool, albeit not at first team level, but to go and pick up those experiences was magnificent for Lawrence's development. It was by total fluke that when I joined Swindon, Lawrence was the goalkeeper there. But fantastic to link up with him there again. It's obviously been a bit of a topsy-turvy period for him in terms of going and getting international recognition for Chile and then finding himself sort of out the country playing abroad, which I think has been a massive step for his development. He's an excellent goalkeeper. I think the real big thing for me is that Lawrence is a real good character, big character. And if managed properly and treated properly, we get a fantastic goalkeeper, but a fantastic member of the squad that fits in with the current group that we've got. He's familiar with a number of the people that are already here. But for me, the personality and the type of lad that he is, he fits into the group excellently, but I think also will help to evolve it as well.
And just finally, I guess, what are the aims, the ambitions for the rest of the season?
To progress, to develop. I think because of the period of break we've got with no game against, obviously the game against Northampton being called off, what it gave us was a period of reflection. So we could sit down and we can start to look at and talk about, right, where are we? All right, it's a new year and New Year's resolutions, and without not getting caught up in that, but a period of reflection, and then what do we need next? I think the real key for me is we're in a very similar situation in terms of where we were in our first year in the National League now, that we can try to look forward and progress in the second half of the season, finish the season in a positive nature, and then where that takes you, who knows? Finishing in the top half, whatever that might look like. I don't really want to put a figure on it, but it's about trying to turn our performances into more of a positive nature and give us a feel-good factor to end the season, knowing that we can build and look up and on to bigger and better things for next year. What I would like to sort of add is that the support that I've been given by everybody at the football club, the people that are employed in terms of the players, the staff and the board, I'd like to thank everybody for that so far. I've received some magnificent support from the fans and the supporters, and even when results haven't been great in recent weeks, whenever we've lost a game or we haven't gone on to win a game that we feel like we deserve, people have stayed with us. That's going to be massive now for us to kick on, and it's not about directly supporting me, but I want to thank everybody on that front. And then at the same time, what I do and what my aims to do is to turn everybody at this football club into a positive frame of mind and a positive way of thinking, so that we can start to reflect that when we put a team out on the pitch every week.